Well, mate, we want to push into 2022 here a little bit on a local stage. We've got a big fight scheduled for about April, I think it is. It's generating a bit of interest on social media. It's a friend of the podcast, actually, Isaac Headsplitter Hardman, and he's going up against Michael Zerafa. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know there's a lot of trash getting spoken, and we're here for that on this pod.
Yeah. Well, that's what's going to happen in this fight is there's two men who really, really like to talk it up, and they don't like each other at all. So the build-up to that fight is going to be fascinating. They've already started. They've been going for quite a long time, and they're both fantastic characters. I get along well with the pair of them, actually. And Michael Zerafa, he sort of made himself the bad guy of Australian boxing. He did it against Jeff Horn, the golden boy of Aussie boxing, upset him in Bendigo and ruined our trip to Japan when Horn was meant to be fighting against Ryota for a version of the middleweight world title at that time. And then, obviously, in the rematch, when he had Horn gone and Horn produced that punch from the gods, it was just such an epic tale. And all the while he was chirping along, wasn't he, Zerafa? And he was everything to Horn and to Glenn Rushton as well. And that's when really the Australian sporting public started to notice him, even though we've known him for a long time. He's been in some big fights internationally and here in Australia. That was when everyone took notice of him and saw how he could sell a fight. And then, of course, he signed a fight against Tim Tszyu and pulled out a week out from that fight, which is a very controversial move. Not something he was in complete control of, but still something that reflected badly on him for the vast majority of the Australian boxing public. And, he's found himself sort of in the crosshairs of a lot of people who don't like the fact that he pulled out of that fight for whatever reason. Isaac Hardman's one of those, and it just makes sense to get an emerging talent like a Hardman in with someone like a Zerafa. So, that fight is meant to take place at some stage in April. The date, I believe, is moving around just a little bit at the moment. So it'll be very exciting, the build-up, and then the fight itself. Fascinating to see someone with the experience of Zerafa and the runs on the board against someone like Isaac Hardman, who's such a big puncher, but is really at that level untested to this point. You think that he's got a lot of ability. He looks good. We know he punches hard, but can he handle someone who is undoubtedly world-class in Michael Zerafa?
Well, a bloke like, he's called the Headsplitter, let's be honest. Is there a better nickname in the sport currently? I'm not sure there is.
You've got to be able to punch if you
do.
That's for sure. Yeah,
so we're on Headsplitter bandwagon from the ground floor, mate. We are on. Yeah. So
we've bought in low, so we're hoping he gets the win. But I've got a similar worry than you that Zerafa's gone and fought Jeff Horn twice, and really probably stiff not to have beaten him twice. I mean, he had that controversial sort of time out, and then, like you said, the punch from the gods. So all his stuff aside, he can back up what he's saying, Zerafa, and it's going to be very interesting to see. I personally would love to see the Headsplitter come out and have a fantastic result and keep going. But this is a big fight for him because Zerafa's done it, and as you said, Hardman's still coming up. So very exciting for Australian boxing fans, though, to have a fight like that. I think in our sights.
It really is, and it makes sense because they're both top 10 in the world middleweights at this point. Isaac Hardman's just gone up in the latest rankings again. He's number 8 in the world now, I believe, and Michael Zerafa's number 7 with the WBA. So they're two world-class middleweights, and it does make sense at the stages they're at in their careers to go in against each other. For Michael Zerafa, a loss at this stage against someone who's only had, I think, 10 fights in Isaac Hardman would be devastating, really, for him. He'd have to climb a long way back to get in some meaningful fights internationally. But for Hardman, a victory in that fight really propels him into the Australian consciousness because of the name that Michael Zerafa has made for himself. And conversely, if Hardman were to lose a fight like that against Michael Zerafa, then it is a journey back to this point as well for him. And for Zerafa, it's just another step towards a major international fight, which is what he's been hunting. But it's a brilliant fight. I can't wait for the build-up to it to see how they interact with each other. I know they're going to just leave it all out there in the press conferences and weigh-ins and all sorts of stuff.
It will be explosive, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it will be. It's still not confirmed that fight will be picked up by Fox Sports or by Main Event. So hopefully there's a lot of issues around that because of what happened with Zerafa pulling out a week out from what was a major pay-per-view against Tim Tszyu. There was a lot of money lost, and a lot of people haven't got over that quickly. So there's a lot of things that have to be sorted out for that to be allowed to happen. But personally, I'd love to call the fight. I'd love to be a part of that build-up because it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, I think if you gave someone like Hardman the opportunity to get on mainstream television, he's a character, and the way he's good on the lip, let's be honest. So I reckon if he could get a win over a name like Zerafa, then, mate, he could be a potential star in the making, definitely.
Yeah, it's sort of a king-making fight for him. He can, if he beats Zerafa, establish himself as a mainstream name and potentially go on a pay-per-view journey. But he does need that name on his record, and maybe it is Zerafa for him. I know that he's very, very keen. He has been for a long time. He thinks that he thinks he knocks him out and he wins the fight. So it's a big test. It's a tough fight. I think Zerafa probably goes in a narrow favourite, but it's a very, very entertaining fight, and it could go either way.
I think that main event. Yep, they were right in sort of black banding him at the minute. But I think a fight like that, you give a guy a second chance. COVID affected people differently, and obviously it let a lot of people down financially and whatnot. But still, young people make mistakes, and you hope a fight like that puts him back in good graces, and because you're right, it's a fight that you definitely want to call. It's a fight everyone wants to see. So it'd be a shame if it wasn't picked up and it was just a fight that happened and didn't get the attention and the hype it deserves. Because I reckon it's a good fight back for him with main event and the Australian public. If he comes out and has a good performance and they put on a potential fight of the year or something like that, it's good for all parties. So I'm with you. I hope that Foxtel and main event pick it up and it gets the sort of hype and the build up that it deserves, because I think it'll be.
There's a lot of people involved in that process because of the nature of what happened in the lead up to the Zoo fight. So a lot of conversations will have to happen. But let's see what happens. It'd be a great fight regardless. And even if I'm not calling it, I'll certainly be watching or be ringside to see how it goes down.